Ladies and gentlemen, we have breaking news. The California wildfires are continuing to burn. But just before we talk about that, we got to talk about Jack Smith. Now, for many of you guys who may not know who Jack Smith is, Jack Smith was the lead prosecutor who led over Donald Trump's case regarding the classified documents. Jack Smith has reportedly just resigned. Mr. Smith, Jack Smith, a special counsel appointed by Attorney General Merrick B. Garland, has signaled that he would step down before Donald J. Trump's inauguration. Now, Jack Smith, he is the special counsel who brought two failed federal prosecutions against President-elect Donald J. Trump and resigned this week. According to a footnote buried in court papers, a remarkably muted conclusion to a fight that redefined the nation's legal and political landscape. Mr. Smith, Jack Smith, a former war crimes prosecutor who fought a bitter and protracted battle in two fronts with the Trump legal team, but lost in both a district court and in the Supreme Court, shaped by Mr. Trump, left the offices in Washington on Friday, according to a senior law enforcement official. Guys, Donald Trump's winning on a level we have never seen before. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the fires that are going on in California right now. And many people are also calling for not only the resignation of Jack Smith, but they're also calling for the resignation of Governor Gavin Newsom. Comment down below if you guys think Gavin Newsom should resign or be fired. Just type in resign or fired. Either one's fine. But guys, what I want to also talk to you guys about is the grocery stores right now and what they're doing in grocery stores. Some grocery stores, I'm not going to say which one. I'll just say they're criminal. Okay. And the reason I want to say this and share this with you guys is because we were just in the grocery stores, in the grocery store just a couple hours ago. I went to the gym and, hit the grocery store on the way out, on the way home. And what was really disturbing to see is the fact that, when you check out, I do self-checkout or whatever, but there was a woman there helping out and I went to pay and it prompted me, do I want to donate to help the victims of the California wildfires? And I know it's not all of California. It's, parts of Hollywood, Palisades, and different parts of California, LA, Los Angeles. But I'm not opposed to donating for a good cause. What I have a problem with is how Joe Biden just cut a massive check over to the Ukraine for multiple billions of dollars. And here we have the residents of California and their homes, they're burning down. And if you guys have seen the stock market has been tanking. And this could very well be the black swan event of 2025. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know how this is going to evolve over time, but investors are getting scared. Investors are panicking and they're selling their stocks. And this is why we're seeing the S&P 500, NASDAQ, the overall stock market collapse. Okay. That's my take on that. But what I do want to also say is that I think it's pretty criminal how a lot of these insurance companies, they have pulled out of the state of California. We've seen it in Florida. They did it with the hurricanes. They've done this. And some of these insurance policies, we're getting reports that some folks have literally had their insurance policies canceled just weeks or months prior to this massive, what they were initially labeling as a wildfire. We later discover it's not just a wildfire. Some of these fires are being intentionally set. You can check out some of my previous videos where I actually show footage of a suspect that was apprehended by California residents. I don't know if it was the Palisades or if it was Los Angeles or Hollywood or whatever, but residents who were, thank God, paying attention. They saw this guy who looked very suspicious, and he, according to what I saw in the video, and you guys might remember the video, according to what I saw in the video, this guy looked like he was about to set this whole neighborhood on ablaze. Okay. So shout out to people in the California area who are paying attention and they're watching out for not only their own homes, but they're watching out for their neighbors. Okay. We need more, can you imagine a society where Everyone, not just me, not just you, everyone looked out for everyone else. If everyone treated everyone else like their brother or their mother or their sister and like just genuinely looked out for one another, can you imagine the kind of society that we would live in if people just looked out for everyone else? You wouldn't even have to look out for yourself anymore because someone else would be looking out for you. You know what I mean? I'm probably making up some utopian environment that doesn't exist right now, but it sure could. Sure could. Starts with each and every single one of us. But, so anyway, so Joe Biden, he's prepared and ready to cut all these checks, multiple billions of dollars going over to Ukraine. And yet we somehow are unable to take care of the residents in Central and Southern California. It's unbelievable. So, let me know your thoughts on that, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Is anybody happy to hear about Jack Smith resigning? I know I'm pretty excited to hear this news. So his departure, Jack Smith, is expected and has signaled his intention to leave before Mr. Trump has been inaugurated, which is scheduled to be January 20th. But get this, his departure was expected. Mr. Smith has signaled his intention to leave before Mr. Trump, who had threatened to fire and punish him, took office on January 20th. So basically, we're seeing the pattern, okay? Jack Smith and a number of other leads that were attacking Donald Trump over the months leading up to Donald Trump's ultimate historic election victory are all leaving office. They're all quitting. They're resigning. It's wild what's happening. Mr. Smith's final week was marked by one more legal setback at the hands of Judge Eileen M. Cannon, the Trump-appointed jurist residing over the Florida documents case. She temporarily blocked public release of his final report until at least Monday. This has been probably one of the most embarrassing cases that any special counsel could have represented. Not only was he tasked with a role of being a special prosecutor on a case that he wasn't even legally supposed to be managing as determined by the Supreme Court, his boss, Merrick Garland, put him up to it. And he thought he was going to make a name for himself taking down Donald Trump. And boy, did that backfire in his face. Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. But yeah, so it's like the Biden administration's focus and objectives, they're just so out of alignment. And this is on the back of what we saw just a couple of weeks ago. We saw Joe Biden during this regular ceremony that takes place. I think it's once a year or once every 4 years, where the president of the United States provides medals to certain highly accomplished individuals in the United States. Well, all hell broke loose when news caught wind by American citizens that Joe Biden was providing these very prestigious medals and awards to the likes of George Soros, to the likes of Hillary Clinton, and a number of other individuals who are widely regarded as being treasonous individuals, who are widely regarded as being just deviant folks who are pushing propaganda and negative agendas that harm the American people, that harm our children. Okay. And so, this is I can understand why there are so many folks who are they cannot wait for Joe Biden and his henchmen to leave office. They can't wait for Kamala Harris to empty her desk, pack her crap up, and get the heck out of town. Okay. But what was also interesting is how Joe Biden suggested very recently that Kamala Harris should run for president again in 2028. Can you believe this? I mean, she's already hinted toward running for governor in 2026, but Biden is suggesting that she should take another shot at it. Kamala Harris should run again for president in 2028. Y'all let me know what you think about that. Please hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you think Kamala Harris should give it another shot in 2028. I mean, it's absolutely disgraceful, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely disgraceful. Let's see. President Joe Biden awards Pope Francis the Presidential Medal of Freedom with distinction. Really? What are your thoughts on this, guys? I don't really have an opinion on this one. I don't know the Pope, and I don't really follow him. But yeah, I'm not going to comment on this. But I want to know if you guys think that's a person who is deserving of that particular medal, the Pope. So we got to talk about Mark Zuckerberg and basically the lies about content moderation that took place during his conversation with Joe Rogan. So Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Facebook's parent company Meta, sets the tone at the very beginning. I think at some level, you only start one of these companies if you believe in giving people a voice, right? Unfortunately, I wasn't born yesterday, and I remember Zuckerberg's first attempt at getting rich. Face Mash, a clone of Hot or Not, where he uploaded photos of his fellow female students to be rated without their consent. Now, first of all, holy cow, is that dirty or what? I mean, it's bad enough that, we deal with all the social pressures. And I'll be honest with you guys, and you guys, please disagree with me if you don't agree. It's quite all right. Freedom of speech here, right? I personally think that women get face criticism more than anything else. I feel like women are under the pressure of social standards to a far greater extent than men are. And if you disagree with that, please let me know, guys. I'm okay. My skin's kind of thick. I'm good. So for Mark Zuckerberg to create Face Mash, a clone of Hot or Not, where he uploads photos of his fellow female students to be rated without their consent, what do y'all think about that? That sounds pretty freaking dirty. And then to make money off of it on top of that? Damn, yo. Quote, giving people a voice is one way of describing that, I suppose. Personally, I'd call it creep shit. Wow. Yeah, so basically, one of the richest men in the world is whining and basically just telling you straight out, Mark Zuckerberg's interview on the Joe Rogan Experience is full of lies, according to The Verge. Early on in the interview, Zuckerberg tests out the waters just to see how much pushback he'll get. Joe Rogan is a notoriously soft interviewer. It's like listening to your dumbest stone friend hold a conversation, but he does so occasionally challenge his guests. So Zuckerberg says that there are limits on the First Amendment by saying, quote, it's like, all right, you can yell fire in a crowded theater, end quote. What? I mean, sure, there's freedom of speech, but you also need to implement some common sense, right? You don't want to freaking yell fire on a crowded elevator. Quote, fire in a crowded elevator. Excuse me. I said elevator. I should have said theater. I don't know why I said elevator. It's like, so anyway, quote, fire in a crowded theater makes every lawyer I know foam at the mouth because it's flat out wrong. Now, let's break that down a little bit. I mean, it's not illegal to scream fire in a crowded theater, is it? Should you be locked up for doing that? I think it's more of a moral issue to do that if there's no fire, to attempt to elicit a stampede reaction of folks in a crowded theater by yelling fire. That's malicious. And so that's probably going to be a very interesting thing for lawyers to battle, because number one, you're protected by the First Amendment, which is freedom of speech. But number two, it also looks, the law is going to look at what was the intent behind the action that was performed. If you were to scream fire in a crowded theater, and let's just say there's 300 people in there and everyone just stampedes out of there, 3 people get trampled to death. Now, there's going to be a massive investigation. They're going to want to find out who said it. And if they can figure out who said fire in the crowded theater, I guarantee charges are going to be filed. So I suppose it's kind of like any other amendment, like, even right to bear arms. You're legally, you can be legally permitted to bear arms with a firearm. Now, if you use that firearm, or more importantly, how you use that firearm and the circumstances of the usage of the firearm determines whether or not you basically are good to go, you're okay with using the firearm, or if you will be sent to jail or fined or all of the above. So I definitely think that this, it's gonna fall into the same category. Now, for his part, Joe Rogan serves up Zuckerberg a series of softballs, setting his own tone by referring to content moderation as censorship. The idea that the government was forcing Zuckerberg to censor news about COVID and COVID issues, COVID vaccines, Hunter Biden's laptop, and of course the election is something of a running theme throughout their interview. When Mark Zuckerberg isn't lying about any of this, he's quite vague, but in case you're wondering, a man who was formally rebuked by the city of San Francisco for putting his name on a hospital while his platforms spread health misinformation thinks that on balance, quote, on balance, the vaccines are more positive than negative, end quote. Wow. What are your thoughts on this, guys? I mean, I feel like, it's an interesting role because Mark Zuckerberg he's the CEO of Facebook, Meta. His company is on a publicly traded stock market. So it's kind of like, okay, number one, I get it. There's some things you need to be a little vague on because you're financially and legally obligated to not say or do certain things as the CEO of a publicly traded company. I mean, and trust me, I'm not trying to take up for Mark Zuckerberg in the least bit. I'm just saying that, think about it. If he were to act out of line, forget about his C-suite executives that are, cleaning up financially, making millions of dollars a year and, could very well be doing some unscrupulous things and, performing invalid censorships, fake fact checks, and forget all of that, right? Think about the fact that your 401k, your investment accounts, your index funds, your target retirement funds largely have S&P 500 tracking indexes. Some of them may have individual stocks such as Facebook Meta in them. So if Mark Zuckerberg were to say too much wild stuff, I'll just leave it generic. If he were to just be too wild, or if he were to be too truthful, he could literally tank Facebook Meta, their stock. Okay. Just think about how many millions of people would be affected by that. Now, sure, of course, he would be personally affected by it. Stock price would crater. But think about all the millions of people who are in retirement or getting ready for retirement that will be screwed by him acting out of line or saying too much or being too real. So, there is that. Now, I'm not saying what he's doing, what he's been a part of, whether or not he was coerced by Joe Biden, the Biden administration. We wait till Trump gets in office, right? I think Trump's going to do some deep digging. Trump also promised us that we're going to get the details behind the whole drone situation because they weren't as transparent with the American people as they needed to be. So I'm looking forward to Trump getting in office. I heard him the other day say that within a day of him being in office, he's going to have a report released about what really happened with the drones that we saw in mass up and down the East Coast of the United States, New Jersey, New York, and whatnot. So looking forward to that. But I think Trump is also going to really spill the beans on what happened with censorship because he was directly impacted by it. This was election interference. Facebook, Twitter before Elon Musk bought it. So there's a lot of heads that are about to roll. I promise y'all that. So anyway, I look forward to sharing that information with you guys as soon as it does become available. If you haven't already, definitely hit the like button. If it makes sense to you, subscribe to the channel. If it doesn't make sense, don't subscribe. That's cool too. Anyway, see you guys on